Hello there. So I get a lot of questions about sales tax, GST, HST, PST, QST, all the things. I get questions about them. And so I'm just going to go through of some of my most frequently asked questions. Hey David. So what is GST, HST? That's a good place to start. It's a sales tax. It's goods and services tax. Let's start with that. GST is goods and services tax. It is a 5% federal tax that is charged on goods and services delivered or sold in Canada, basically. In some provinces, you've got PST, which is in addition to GST, and in some provinces, the GST and the PST got smushed together, and they now call it HST, basically. So that's basically what it is at a very, very high level. There are obviously nuances to it, but which is why it's so confusing. But yeah, that's the overview. And the next sort of transition that we get into is, but when do I need to charge GST? So a lot of us know that we need to charge GST if we reach the $30,000 threshold. What does that mean? So the $30,000 mark is if you bring in $30,000 of worldwide income from business activities, so non-employment income, you don't work for somebody else, you're selling goods or services, then you have to register for a GST, HST number with the CRA. The tricky bit there is worldwide income. So it could be that you're selling internationally, in which case you don't charge GST, HST. Well, you do, but it's zero rated. So you're not actually collecting GST on those sales, but they count towards the $30,000 threshold. So important thing to know. And it's $30,000 within 4 consecutive quarters, which is a year time span, but it doesn't necessarily need to be a year like a calendar year or a fiscal year. It just needs to be 4 quarters in a row. And if you have not registered for GST, HST, then you can't charge it. So some business owners that I talk to, they say, oh, I just started and I made sure I started charging GST immediately. So I say, okay, great. When did you register for GST? And they tell me they didn't register. Do they have to register? And so then we have to have this conversation where I say, in order to charge the GST, you have to have registered first, and you need to make sure that you have your GST, HST number on all of your invoices, because you wanna be giving that number to the person that you're charging GST, so that they know they can put it on their own returns. They know that they're paying that out, so that they then can deduct it on their GST returns. Can you register before you hit that $30,000? Because maybe you want to be charging or collecting and paying out or recording paying out before that. Yes, the answer is yes. You can definitely register early. Should you though, is the question. Should you? So I generally recommend to register early. Which is not, I have changed my mind on this, because it used to be that I thought, oh, well, why would I register early? Because then I just have all this admin work to do that I am volunteering to do. It didn't make sense to me. But I have since changed my mind on that. Yes, it's additional administrative work, and that's not ideal to be volunteering for admin work, but you will have to do it at some point. So it's not something that you can just avoid. You can just decide, I'm not going to do this. It's something that I recommend getting to know early on in your business, to be honest, because when you can get to know something when your business is small and how it works and when the dollars are really small, then the stakes are way lower, right? So if you make a mistake, but we're talking $10, $20, even $100, no big deal. But if you wait until you get to a bigger size, then it could be that you're dealing with much larger dollars, and inevitably you're going to be way busier. So you don't want to be trying to learn how sales tax works when you're super busy. So I recommend doing that. I also think that if you have regular clients that you're chatting with or that you're doing business with, you don't want to have to be like, hey, so now I have to increase my prices because I registered for sales tax. I mean, you could have your sales tax be included in your price, but then you're kind of eating that additional percentage, whether it's 5 or 13 or whatever. So yeah, I usually recommend registering early. I had a friend actually point out to me too that it's nobody's business how much money you're making, and that if you don't have a GST number, then they know that you're less than 30,000. They know you're a small supplier. So, I mean, I am less concerned about that, but something to keep in mind if you are concerned about that. How do you register? How do you go about registering? So you've decided, yes, I need to register, and that's the thing that I want to do. So how do you go about doing that? Well, you can do it online. The business registration online service on the CRA's website allows you to do it, and you just sort of jump through all their little hoops. And you can register a business number, or not a business number, a GST number. They ask you a fair number of questions, but they're usually pretty straightforward. And if you're opening the number, then usually an estimate is really all you need for some of those numbers. I would definitely make sure that you're not an exempt supplier before you register. The CRA has a specific list of exempt suppliers, so you don't need to worry about it. Doesn't matter how much money you make. If you're an exempt supplier, don't need to worry about it, which is great. I also, so pro tip, the CRA's search function is not that good in their website. I mean, they've got a lot of good stuff on their website, but it's not like the search bar doesn't work that well. But Google searches the CRA's website very well. So if you just Google what you're looking for and then put CRA at the end of it, then it will just like search the CRA's website, which is great. So make sure when you're Googling for CRA information that you choose the responses as canada.ca, because that'll be the CRA's website, because you want to make sure you get a reputable source for your tax knowledge, because I didn't know, or I was given bad advice. Does not fly with the CRA. They're not going to care. Anyways, small aside, use Google, not the CRA's search function. Okay, so now you've registered. Now what? Well, now you can start collecting HST, GST, HST on your invoices. So you send out your invoices. You've got a breakdown of the sale that you made, and then the tax, and then the total, and you've got your GST, HST number on there, and you start collecting. And the other side of that is that you can start recording the amount that you actually pay out in sales tax. So if I bought a rock for $10, say, and then my sales tax was $1, say, that's not a real sales tax percentage, but say it was $1. So I paid $11 in total. $10 is the expense. $1 is the amount of sales tax that I've paid out. So that number needs to go in a different bucket. I'm not going to get too much more into that because that's a whole other topic, but that piece goes into the same bucket as the GST, HST that you're collecting, and then you just would remit the difference, basically. Yeah, I'll probably chat about how to file and prepare your returns and like the details of that in a later video, but not today. All you need to know is now that you have a number, you need to start collecting HST, GST, and you also need to be carving out the amount in sales tax that you're paying out on your expenses. So all of that was pretty rapid fire at you. We talked about what is GST, HST. We talked about when you need to worry about it. We talked about charging it and whether you should register early or not. And then what do you do once you have registered? And how to register. We even went over briefly how to register. So those are my frequently asked questions. If you have other questions, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Leave them for me and I will answer them for you. I have also created a PDF here. This is a fun thing. And I have included one of the 7 accounting mistakes that small business owners make is regarding GST, HST. Here it is, number 7. So it's got a quick overview of why we get confused about this kind of thing, the problem that's caused, and then a quick fix. So that's just one of 7. If you want to know what all 7 of them are and some quick fixes to get yourself out of trouble, I've left the link in the description, and that's free. Yeah, that's free. So download it. I recommend it. I mean, obviously because I wrote it, but I really do think it's good. So that's all I have for you today. As I said, leave your questions in the comments for me. I'll see you tomorrow.